Now I'm going to take you through an explanation of the 6 energies to utilize in your zone. Now, we can go really, really deep with these. Like I mentioned, 3 times I took a group of men through an initiation where we spent the entire weekend diving into each of these energies. However, for this video though, I want to really give you the next step of understanding so you can start spotting these in your life and start developing them and then start using them, because each of these energies needs to be developed for you to be able to use it. Okay, so let's start off with one so you can really start feeling into it. So the warrior, we're going to start off with that one because oftentimes this is, as an entrepreneur, this is where pretty much everybody starts. And this energy is how to be consistent, aggressive, and disciplined. And especially when starting a business, these are absolutely 3 crucial qualities that's required to get things up and moving. However, though, this is where it can lead to burnout if we don't grow beyond this, okay? And ultimately, what's the goal here? I would say the goal here is to be in the sovereign energy. That's where your business, your life is built around your genius. So in order to do the sovereign energy and become the sovereign energy and have that in our business, we first, remember, must cultivate all of these qualities, because if we don't, then it's not truly the sovereign energy. The sovereign energy is the embodiment of all other energies and knows how to use them at the right time, the right place, and in the right way. Okay? And that's ultimately what creates a incredibly stable person, which creates a stable business. If we look at it like the old kings or queens, a stable leader creates a stable kingdom. All right. So the warrior energy. Now, if there's, like I mentioned before, there's positives to this and negatives. So if a person doesn't cultivate their warrior energy enough, then they get the opposite of this. They're not consistent. They're passive, and they're not disciplined. All right. So with each of them, there's a negative and a positive. And it's if you don't develop the energy enough, and or if you use it to too much of a degree. So also a negative could be too far on the other side of the spectrum of the warrior energy is do, go at it, grind, not listen to the other energies, okay? And what we talked about before was like linear productivity. That's really warrior energy of just using the physical body to go. And the warrior energy is, that's why I said this is kind of like characters or hats, because you can really feel into each energy has its own way of thinking and way of acting. And in the warrior energy, you know, it's easy to burn out because the warrior energy is like, oh, well, you don't want to do this thing or you're tired. And the warrior energy is like, well, first of all, shut the fuck up, do what you're told, get it done. That's it. Go. That's the type of warrior energy. And if we look at it like with actual warriors, that's what you need, okay? But if we are in that energy all the time in our business, we're not going to fully become what we can truly become, okay? But at the same time, it's absolutely crucial to use it at times. So the quote I have for this is the warrior energy, this is that embodies the warrior energy, is there's no time for anything but meaningful acts if we live with death as our eternal companion. So the warrior contemplates death. Death is part of the warrior's whole life because they see it all around them at every time. So there's a certain intensity, there's a certain efficiency, there's a certain aggressiveness of like, hey, if there's an opportunity, you got to take it because the enemy will use it against you. So developing this, and it's important to find your own way of developing each of these. For me, jiu-jitsu and competing in tournaments with jiu-jitsu keeps me in the warrior energy because, you know, when I'm rolling and practicing, I mean, on the mat, people don't care what business you have. People don't care whatever or how much money you have. All it is in that moment is one person pretend, like trying to literally kill the other person. And it's a controlled environment, but that's what it is, whether choke them out or break their arm or whatever it is. And there's a certain humbleness, there's a certain purity to that. And ultimately with the warrior, it's that purity of discipline, of just results based. Did you get the result or did you not? No explanation needed. Okay. Let's get into the next one, which is the mystic. So the mystic energy is all about how to align invisible forces and rhythms. So the mystic energy says, okay, well, one way is to just do it and grind your way through. Well, what if there's different knowledge that can help make this a more smoother journey? And that's why it's really important to develop the discipline of the warrior first, because then the mystic energy can really flow and you can start using invisible forces, maybe esoteric knowledge, different rhythms to achieve a goal. And maybe not doing it, maybe waiting an hour, maybe waiting a day, maybe asking somebody else for a piece of information will make a more smoother process to the goal. However, that's why it's important to cultivate the warrior discipline so that this isn't confused with procrastination. Because if a person hasn't anchored into the warrior discipline, then this could easily be disguised as actually procrastination of, oh, well, maybe if I just wait till this time or that time, okay? So the true power of the mystic is built upon the discipline of the warrior. And then the mystic says, okay, well, what type of knowledge can I utilize to make this a smoother? And it's really about timing as well. So yes, I could just go for this goal right now and just brute force my way. But if there's a better timing, then have the discipline to follow that timing, I can get a better result, right? Now, in the shadow of the mystic energy, if you use that too much, A, it's procrastination, like I said, and B, it can be manipulation. All right. So if it's manipulating and using invisible forces and things that people aren't aware of, knowledge that people aren't aware of, then it becomes manipulative. And that's, of course, what we don't want. So it needs to be aligned with true integrity, true service, and true vision of what's best for everyone. And a quote here is, reality is merely an illusion, albeit a very persistent one, by Albert Einstein. So the mystic, Albert Einstein is an example of the mystic because it's not like, it doesn't need to be anything with magic or anything like that. It's unknown knowledge, okay? And he had knowledge and cultivated knowledge that the vast majority of people had no clue of. So it's also in your different industry, you could cultivate a knowledge that's so precise that it feels like, people use those words like, whoa, that was magic, marketing magic, or even in science with doctors, certain things that you do, it's just like, wow, okay. And that's really what the mystic energy is about, is cultivating such a high degree of knowledge and application of it that it's out of people's scope of perception to a degree. And that's why the next step is really important. The next energy is the lover, because the lover cares about other people, cares about life. So without the lover energy, the mystic can become very manipulative, that type of energy, because it's like having this unseen power to affect reality. But if that's not centered in the heart with integrity and service, then it can get manipulative. So the lover is very important. And the quote here is, love is life. If you miss love, you miss life. So the lover energy is about how to appreciate life, first and foremost, and then how to enjoy the experience of life. Because without the lover energy, a person can also, it can be very serious all the time. It can be very, there's no color to life. There's no enjoyment to life. It's just, discipline of the warrior, go, 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 very tactical, the mystic, using the unseen knowledge. So the lover is here to enjoy life, okay? And enjoy other people and connect to other people as well. And then the next one, we go into the wild one. So this is all about the wild primal energy within each of us. And the core of it is how to break free from mental constraints. So an example of this is like, say there's a person in corporate America, so much structure all around their lives. There's so much societal structure, okay? That's one side of the spectrum. Now, and this person's, got the mortgage, got the family, got the everything that society told them to do and operate and function, they've done it, okay? That's one side of the spectrum. The other side of the spectrum is someone who's completely free from the constraints of society and is totally free to be their own person, wear what they want to wear, do what they want to do, make money how they want to make money, and they're really free from all these invisible constraints, okay? So that's really what this wild energy is about, and it's about freedom. So oftentimes people can connect to this being out in nature because it's outside of the man-made constraints. You really get connected to this primal thing, okay? So the wild one energy, and it doesn't have to be nature either. It's all about some type of experience where you're just free from mental constraints. Some people find that dancing at musical festivals. Some people find that through creating like moving art. It's very embodied too. It's a movement type thing. It's not an intellectual thing. The intellectual is more of the mystic energy. Wild one energy is in your body, moving and letting go and just being free, of all the self-judgments, all the other people's judgments, letting go and being free. Now, if taken too far, though, this can be also detrimental, like all of them. So taken to the extreme, this is like the anarchist. It's so much wild energy that it's like, okay, no rules. Okay, you can't even contain me with any rules, zero rules, just total anarchy. Okay, so obviously running a business, that's not useful. But if we also don't give these energies time to flow through us, then it's like they find destructive ways to get out. So we see a lot of times where, say, a person is so structured in a certain way, and then they just have an outburst, whether it's through drinking, drugs, sex, whatever it is, there's like an outlet of that pent-up energy. So it's important to connect to what makes you feel free and what makes you feel connected to your body, and that's the wild one energy. And that will help your business because it exudes a certain freedom, a certain comfortable with oneself. And a way to see this is like in rock stars or within artists specifically, musicians, because they've really embodied the wild energy of just really being themselves. And we can see that that's magnetized people because every human being wants to express their freedom in that way. And society has deliberately set up so many controls so that doesn't happen. Okay. So when you really connect to this wild energy, there's a certain strength, there's a certain magnetism that happens. And again, you don't have to go out to nature to do this. It can help. But it's something where you're just anchored into the energy of being freely yourself. Okay? Now, the quote for this one is, "True freedom is being who you really are, regardless of anyone's permission." The fifth energy is playful. Okay? So I discovered that this was missing as I was working with these energies, especially reading the King, Warrior, Magician, Lover. Same energies, just different names. And I realized it was missing something. And this is energy is very close to the Lover. It's very close to the Wild one, but it's definitely got its own energy. And I noticed that because in the men's programs, everybody was so fucking serious. It was just this thing of like, oh, gotta be a man, gotta do all these things. And like, that's definitely an aspect. And at the same time, it was so obvious to me that it was missing. Because it's like, if you go to a party, who wants to hang out with Mr. Serious? It's like, yeah, there's a certain respect, there's just a certain strength. But beyond that, there's no charisma there. And in business and genius, when we're being ourselves, there's a magnetism there. And that comes from the playful energy. And that's why it's about how to magnetize and increase creativity through play. Okay? And I'm going to back this up with a quote from somebody I never thought I'd hear this quote from. And this is from Friedrich Nietzsche. And the quote is, In every real man, a child is hidden that wants to play. And of course, that goes for women as well. And it's so true, because when a person hasn't connected to the playful energy inside of them, there's a fear. There's a fear of letting their guard down. There's a fear of like, oh, and I know this because I've gone on this journey so much. And there's like kind of this white knuckling feeling of holding the bars of life, and like, oh, if I let go, then everything's going to come crashing down. So I need to be serious, I need to be focused, and I need to be tense, basically. And the playful energy is letting go a bit of that and flowing with it and having fun. And that leads to charisma. It leads to lightheartedness. And the reason why I have this picture of the kids here is because another way I've described this when I first did with the Sovereign Man initiation, I described it with the men as the playful prince. Because the playful prince and playful princess he's a part of like the royal family, so he's got the benefits, but doesn't have the responsibility of making the tough decisions as the king or the queen. So there's this certain lightness, there's a certain jokester energy that comes out. So this energy is very important because, again, it's the key to magnetism. It's the key to also increasing your creativity. How does that happen? Well, in the David Hawkins scale of consciousness, which I've gone through so many times, what's the top emotions on that scale? Peace, love, and joy. Those are the core emotions of being in the flow state. Those are the key emotions of this playful energy. Peace. Think about it. Playful prince. Relaxed. He got things covered. They're not focusing on money or focusing on what they want. There's a relaxedness. Joy. He just gets to do what he finds fun to do. And love. Naturally, it leads to a love of life. Things are good. So this playful energy, what I share with people is that, on that scale of rising up the scale of consciousness, we could go meditate for 40 years and be all serious to try and raise our frequency. Or perhaps a more efficient route is to connect to the playful energy, which puts us in a state of peace, love, and joy continuously. So perhaps instead of spending 40 years meditating on some mountaintop being all serious, what if instead we just focus on using some of this energy each day, more and more? And in my genius map, I've got 2-10-1, so it's like, I started on the opposite side of the spectrum. I wanted to be playful, but I was like, I need to figure everything out in life and business first. And it just created this rigidity. But the more we connect to this playful energy, which is a part of tactical recharges as well, strategic recharges, it allows us to relax and it actually moves our frequency up. And as we go up that scale of consciousness for that period of time, we actually get access to greater creativity, greater solutions to the things that we didn't really understand. We couldn't figure out a way down below, those problems down below. And I'm paraphrasing here, but Albert Einstein has the quote of that the same level, a solution won't come from the same level of consciousness as the problem. You got to rise above that level of consciousness. And so tying what Albert Einstein says with David Hawkins' scale of consciousness, this playful energy is actually a way to get up there. And it's one of the most underrated energies. Like I said, King, Magician, Warrior, Lover, they don't even have it. But it's one of the most, while it's the most underrated energy, it's also one of the most powerful. Because who do you want to do business with? Person who's funny, person who's fun. You want to have fun with people. And Benjamin Franklin really used this energy to his benefit. And he has a quote, and I'm paraphrasing again here, that basically says, hey, if you want to, there's no point in convincing somebody. There's no point in changing somebody's mind, because if you come at it with that energy, it's going to butt heads. But if you bring fun, if you bring laughter, then people are more open-minded. And that's really a thing of master comedians, is they use humor to address complex, heated subjects. And when people are laughing, then their mind is actually more open to considering the other side of the spectrum. And that's what masters do. It's not just like, oh, look at these people, ha ha ha, that's base level. Masters say, okay, here in society, here's this issue. There's people on both sides of the coin that are very heated. Let's bring a joke into it. Because when we bring that joke and we get both sides laughing, the defenses go down just that much more. And they laugh again and it goes down just that much more. And pretty soon, they're able just to, for the first time perhaps, see the other side and consider. They don't have to get sold on the ideas, but at least consider. And that's how we bridge the gap. So this energy, completely underrated, completely powerful. Okay? Now that leads to the sovereign energy. And you can see how everyone talks about want to be the king or queen, but if they just go from warrior to sovereign, it's not really sovereign. They're missing it. And actually, I'm just going to backtrack real quick, because the playful energy, if the negative aspect of that, if that's too much in its shadow, it's someone who's playing all the time and doesn't get anything done. Okay? So I just want to really make that clear. And so that's why it's important to use this while using all of the other ones. And that's what the sovereign does. The sovereign is the master of using all these different energies and literally developing them in themselves, because there's training that a person needs to do to develop their warrior. There's training that a person needs to do to develop their mystic, okay? And I'll have resources down below of different trainings that I've used to develop these different aspects, and I'm going to continue to the day I die. It's always a process of building these different energies more and more in ourselves so we can access them. Because this is about becoming the sovereign, not just being in a position of power. Because, many people can be in a position of power, but actually wielding that power wisely and justly for the betterment of all, that takes incredible abilities, and we can only have those abilities once we become the combination of all of these energies. And this is how the true service leadership happens. And that's what the quote for this one is, and this can apply for a queen as well, is a true king's reign is one of divine service. Because it's hard. It's fucking difficult. It's having to make decisions that people don't even want to think about. But it's doing it every day. And that's why it becomes a true service position, because it's somebody who's gone through the journey of developing all of these energies and refining them and building them over years and decades, coming to a point where they can use at will each of these energies in every aspect of their day. And as they go throughout their day, it's going to require different energies. So again, it's knowing how the sovereign is the master of how to use these energies, when to use these energies, and in what dose to use these energies. Okay? And bringing this all together, as you own your zone, this is another aspect of mastery, and it takes a long time. It takes a lifetime of building each of these up, of course, but it'll make you more effective in owning your zone. Okay? That's what I've got for you in this video. I'll see you in the next one.